Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back. Back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Junikala, and today we're having a look at Sonible's newest plugin. This one is called Smart deess, and indeed, it is a de-esser. Now, this is something that I've been hoping for and expecting actually for quite a while now. Knowing Sonible's lineup overall, this seems kind of like a no-brainer offering from them, and something you would, expect and hope for. And especially when I have to be honest, I'm not particularly impressed by most de-essers out there. It's been a kind of a niche or a niche, depending on how you like to pronounce that, but kind of a niche where where there's been lacking performance in my estimation. And so far, the best one I've found and used has been the Fab Filter deess, which I find to be good, but it doesn't quite strike me as perfect, at least to the extent that I'm capable of operating that. But I've that's the one I've used so far, getting to good results. But I still find some things missing, and that last bit of realism and natural sound seems to be missing. So this is a very, very asked for, at least from my part, tool. And if there was a company that I was looking forward to, tackling the de-esser problem, it's certainly Sonible. And as some of you might know, I use Sonible's tools very extensively. The limiter, the compressor too, the EQ, it's all fantastic stuff and all over my work. Also, we should touch on transparency, obviously. So Sonible did send me this copy to check out, so thank you to them. As always, all opinions, both in good and bad, are my own. I haven't been asked to say anything one way or the other, nor would I ever do that. And I'm also not being paid to film or edit this video otherwise. In terms of what you'll be listening to today, is I've got basically two different sources. So we got audio from my podcast recording, which is one of the use cases where I really want to be using a de-esser. And also I got a clip from a track I did with Symbiont Project. So some of the vocals from there, we got like a low vocal, a mid vocal, and then like a high vocal. So just some different use cases. Personally, I'm very driven to find the best de-esser possible, because I have very kind of sibilant S's, definitely, and they can get very sharp. And I think I inherited that from my grandmother from my dad's side, because she has very strong, even stronger S's. But I can find a place in my mouth positioning the S in such a way that it gets very, very sharp. So very driven to find a better tool for this. We usually, as often as possible, to do demos blind. This one is not, because I actually already filmed this demo once, and it was amazing and the best demo I ever made, obviously. But unfortunately, we had a bit of a hiccup glitch in the video capturing side of things, which meant we didn't actually see the interface for Smart deess, and instead we saw my limiter. So that was not usable, not ideal. So we are redoing this now. So, but in short, since I do want to keep this real and honest and authentic, this is the best de-esser I've ever used, that I've heard, that I've seen. And indeed, this does get me finally to the kind of results that I've been after for years. So very strongly recommended. And if that's the only thing you wanted to pick up from this video, then there it is. But Let's go to the examples next. So, taking myself into Studio One here, again, just checking the window doesn't change as it did before. So, let's listen to this. I'm going to turn off Smart deess. Let's find a decent level first for this this speech part. So this is indeed from my podcast, Be a Better Artist, the newest episode, which at least as of today isn't out yet. So let's find a level first. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have any strategy, any skill. Cool, so that's good. As you can hear, we have some sibilants there. So I've taken off, the stuff that I usually have on there. On this track, I have just a engineer's filter cut in the low end to get rid of the extreme low end. And then I have 2 instances of OEK sound spiff, but they are tuned just to take out these kind of mouth clicks that I have. I don't know what it is. It's my ear or my jaw bone or something, but they get very clicky, and it's an annoying sound. So I use spiff to get rid of that, but it doesn't do much for the sibilants here in this case. And otherwise, this is completely raw audio, just me tracking through this mic in this space. That's it, in OBS, raw, nothing processed. So what we're going to do next is we're going to play that same part, and we're going to press this reanalyze voice button here. Now you see this kind of circle with the arrow. So you press this and you press play, and then you let Smart deess do its thing. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have any strategy, any skill, any techniques, and again, here is really important to actually remember to put the plugin on, which this is so often happens to be the case with Sonible tools, because you want to turn things on and off, and then you're learning something again with the button, and then the plugin isn't on. So please put it on, and you can tell that it's not on by this thing just rotating endlessly, and you're never getting anywhere. So that's a pro tip from a audio professional right there. So, okay, seems like we did move somewhere else on the timeline. Let me get myself back to the right place. Yes, we did indeed go to the beginning over here. So, again, let's play that same section. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have any strategy, any skill, any techniques. So this is a fantastic section, a lot of S's going on. So again, this is Smart deess turned off. And in most cases, sensibly so, because, and this is on. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't, so you can definitely hear it true on that. This one gets a bit like shushy to my ear, so it's not super natural. So what I discovered in our previous recording, which unfortunately didn't make it, but rest in peace, I found that for my voice, the color mode soft is really the best option. So you have sharp, balanced, and soft. Sharp simply acts on acts on the audio much faster. So this is what it sounds like. And in most cases, sensibly so, because, and here is the balanced, which we heard already. And in most cases, sensibly so. So it becomes kind of rounder, more sort of shushier. And then the soft. And in most cases, sensibly so, because, which is sort of, again, more round, but gentler. And this is the sharp one. Again. And in most cases, sensibly so. So in a way that kind of latches onto the sound in the best way with these settings. But as we start to play with these controls, that changes quite a bit. So let's choose soft. soft. Turn the shaping all the way down, and then I'm just gonna play with the suppression control here on the left and bottom side to demonstrate the effect. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have, and in most cases, sensibly so, and in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have, there we go. Oh, unfortunately, my DAW control seems to be a bit confused, and it throws me into the wrong place. But yeah, let's listen to the suppression at 100%. I like to do this to get an idea of what it's doing. You get the most extreme example of what it can do, but you also get a sense of its style and how it's chewing on the audio. I like to do this with compression as well. Go really hard so that you get a sense of how it's moving, how it's pulling, and you get a sense of its texture. And from there, it's easy to back down. So let's actually listen to that section at 100, and we'll change the color mode as well. So this one is soft, and in most cases, sensibly so. So very, very smooth the way it latches on. And in most cases, sensibly so. And that was the balanced one, which kind of sounds like it moves to the back of the throat a bit, and again gets some of that softness in there. Yeah, and this is actually really cool because it's kind of like becomes a formant element, like in terms of how the human mouth, changes and positions. So this could be a really good tool to really match the de-esser to the voice type that you're listening to. That's how I would think about it, instead of sharp being fast and balanced being something in the mid and soft being slow. It's more than that. It does kind of change the shape of the sibilants. And this is the sharp at full, and in most cases sensibly so. So you can hear it comes a bit faster, and in most cases sensibly so. This kind of moves it to the back and rounds it up, and this is the soft, and in most cases sensibly so. And this sounds like it lets through a bit more in the beginning, but then nicely smoothens out the end of the sibilants. I like to test these with the spectral, so the shaping refers, and this is brilliant, as you hover on the controls. I don't know if the video thing captures this, but when you hover on a control, it opens this box and it says, choose how strongly the sibilant is spectrally shaped towards the selected color. So I would turn this off initially just to hear what the different modes do, as in the colors do, and then you can add this in to see what it does. So to me, it seems like it's the best way, at least for my voice and my ear, to pick up what you want to go with. So soft it is, and then let's adjust this to find a good spot. I'm getting very self-conscious about my S's here. getting some pronunciation difficulties. And in most cases, sensibly so. 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 So obviously, fully turned off, you can clearly begin to hear how the sibilants push through quite aggressively. And in most cases, sensibly so. And in most cases, sensibly so. So already at 20-30 begins to grab the brunt of what we need to deal with. Beyond this, I'd say it's kind of a subjective call. Personally, I like to take as much out as possible without hearing that it's getting unnatural. So I want to go as far as possible while still sounding natural. And the reason is, once you start applying compression and EQ afterwards, or, well, yeah, probably EQ and then compression in most cases, you're going to be pulling back some of those sibilants again, depending on what you're doing. But you're going to get more of that presence, more of that perhaps harsher frequencies back in. So I like to go as far as possible while it's still natural, and then after EQing and compression, I'm going to be in a better space. So something worth considering when it comes to de-essing. Don't just go for the maybe the best ideal balanced sound, but maybe a bit more, so you have a bit more leeway in the mixing phase. But again, this is not like a hard rule, but something I do because I've noticed that for me, it does sort of give the best balanced output at the end of the mixing chain. And in most cases, sensibly so. And in most cases, sensibly so. And in most cases, sensibly so. So this is where it begins to push into that area where it becomes audible. I genuinely think around the 50% mark here is pretty ideal in this case. Moving on to the shaping area, let's push this. Let's go first without, and then push to its fullest setting, which is not 100, but it's 150. And in most cases, sensibly so. And in most cases, sensibly so. So you hear this kind of chewy softness seeping even further into the sound. And in most cases, sensibly so. And in most cases, sensibly so. You can hear that it really attacks those top-end frequencies a lot more. And in most cases, sensibly so, and in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have, and in most cases, sensibly so. And indeed, if you look at this spectral shaping box here in the top, if this is set at 0, the shaping control, then it chews on all of the frequencies apparently at the same rate. But as we begin to push this, it clearly shows, above this 7.5K mark that it's hitting harder. For my voice, I find that it's probably like 4K to 11K, which is really the most critical area. Here it was, it's set to 2.5 and 12.5, which is for my voice perfectly still acceptable. That's kind of like the wider area, but for my voice, 4 to 11 is pretty typical. But let's push the control here, and you can watch the top right box here. See the sorry, I was adjusting the wrong control here. You can see the analyzer here change. And in most cases, sensibly so. 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 Because if you, and in most cases, sensibly so. Because if you don't. So again, here I would push around the 50 mark. So that's pretty much it. What I would do with my voice. So again, let's turn this off. So this is Smart deess off. And in most cases, sensibly so. So again, a lot of energy, big difference between the baseline level of my voice versus the Sibilants. And in most cases, sensibly so. A lot of energy there. Let's turn Smart deess on with the settings we did. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have any strategy, and again, this is the most extreme example of the recording that I found. Here it's definitely more audible, the kind of how it digs into the Sibilants, but if I play this part from a bit earlier. So, looping back to vulnerability as a whole, people don't tend to be very good at being vulnerable. And this is without. So, looping back to vulnerability. Even just that first, so. So, looping back to vulnerability as a whole. And this is with the settings we did. So, looping back to vulnerability as a whole. So that's really good. And again, this, if you really listen to it, it definitely has that kind of a tone. If you have a keen ear, you can hear that it chews on the S's. But I know this is going to work really well once I do EQ and then I compress. That's going to even out very, very nicely. But first of all, you want to make sure you get rid of the excessive energy. So you bring the plosives to the level of the kind of baseline level of the voice. And then from there, you can dig in harder if you want. But the first job of the de-esser is to grab those. And I've never used a de-esser. I never found anything that does this so well and naturally. So super, super happy with this. You do also notice this plosive control here on the right, next to the Sibilants here. And it has suppression and then shaping, which are the same control. So that's the suppression is the overall amount that it applies, and then spectral control comes through the shaping. I don't know if we have a super good example of a very plosive part here. And in most cases, sensibly so, because if you don't have any strategy, any skill, any techniques that you can deploy, so we have a plosive there. So if I turn off the plosives, that you can deploy, 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 that you can deploy. So very subtle in this section. We would need like a super big plosive somewhere to demonstrate that a bit better, but it does capture some of the edge there. And again, this analyzer here is fantastic. In the blue, you can see the plosives that it's dealing with, and then in the green, you see the Sibilants. So, looping back to vulnerability. We actually do have a fair bit of plosives there, so let's turn that off. So, looping back to vulnerability. So, looping back to vulnerability. And then let's put that on. So, looping back to vulnerability. That's actually a pretty significant change. So, looping back to vulnerability. So, looping back to vulnerability. So, looping back to vulnerability. Just takes the unnecessary energy and the edge off there. And it does actually do a pretty deep cut there. So, this is actually something on my first run I didn't look a tremendous amount into, but I'm glad we did here now, because it does a lot more than I realized and paid attention to, because you do think it's a de-esser first and foremost, and obviously plosives obviously go into that category as well. But you know, before I've just done those manually in the edit part of the DAW, cutting them out, taking the plosives and just, you know, lowering the level in the clip itself. But this actually, this sounds fantastic, super smooth, very easy to use. It's very, you don't even notice that it's there. It's that good, because I didn't even consider the plosives as an issue, and it's no wonder because I didn't hear them. So again, let's turn off the plosives. So, looping back to vulnerability. So they're not super aggressive in a problematic way, but there's still energy there. So let's turn this on. So, looping back to vulnerability. It just really levels the energy there super, super nicely. So yeah, then you do have controls in terms of speed. So it says set the reaction speed for the Sibilants and plosive processing. So I find the mid is really works best for my voice here, but let's just demonstrate. Let's do fast first. So, looping back to vulnerability as a whole. Mid. So, looping back to vulnerability as a whole. It just becomes tighter. It clamps down on it in a sort of more consistent way, and this is slow. So, looping back to vulnerability as a whole. To me, it sounds like there's like kind of a reverse expansion thing, so it kind of like creates this kind of sucking movement, which is not great. To me, the mid really locks it down here fantastically, and if you want it to be, you know, sharper, faster, you can go with fast, but for me, especially for the podcast use, I would go with the mid here. So that's the basic gist of it. Again, play your audio, press this analyze button here, or reanalyze if you've already analyzed something. Gives the base setting there. Honestly, for me, I found myself using the controls out of the gate just immediately, because they are so simple, so clear, clean, concise. You can hear what you're doing super easy. So wouldn't even mind starting from like a complete default flat start. But I would recommend pressing this, because there might be something under the hood here that I'm not paying attention to. For example, the mode it probably selects, I don't know. I probably always, most of the time, maybe goes into the full range. I know that's a very technical statement. But yeah, let's see what it says if we hover. Okay, these are only available in split band mode. So that makes sense. And yeah, you would do split if there's areas you don't want it to take into consideration, but I mean, this full range seems rock solid here. You also have this plugin states here, and you have 8 of them, so you can just either automate those, I'd guess, in a mixing context to have different de-essing for different parts, or you can just A, B, or C and D compare all of them together, which is super nice, super fast. Because of Studio One stuff, I don't think I get the plugin presets here. I still haven't figured out how that works in this DAW, but there you go. But yeah, super clean, super simple interface. Fantastic to work with, and everything. The feedback loop is super clean and clear in terms of hearing what you're doing. And that's oftentimes with de-essing, there's a big zone where you tend to hear nothing, and then something happens, and then it turns into crap. So this is really cool, because it sounds super natural and nice. Okay, let's go into the vocal part. And we're going to start with the low vocal section here. I'm going to probably have to pull down this limiter here, because these vocals are significantly louder than my recorded voice. So let's have a listen. Let's turn off Smart deess.
I always thought it would go on and on, go on and far past the light.
So that's what it sounds like. This is raw. There's, my understanding, let me have a look. Yeah, there's nothing here. Just recorded vocals, chosen takes. So this is, what we went with. Although this latter part didn't make it into the version, but it's going to be in my version one day. So let's take this section here, and let's click analyze, and then we press play.
Far past the light, a break of night.
And again, pro tip would be to turn off, not off. It's been a long day. Turn on the plugin. That helps. I swear this happens with Sonible stuff all the time, because your A-Bing results, and then you just forget that it's on. Especially in Studio One, because it's a tiny blue button there in the corner. And then you want to analyze audio, not realizing it's not on. And it indeed needs to be on for it to analyze something. Would be cool if it could analyze even if it's bypassed, but I guess that kind of is not possible from the end of Sonible, because it probably goes against the laws of what's in the DAW. But yes, turn on the plugin for it to work. This is a pro tip. I've studied music technology. I know what I'm talking about, and I've been doing this for who knows how many years. So, all right, let's give it a chance to actually hear what we're listening to.
Far past the light, ere break of night, a lifelong dream without goodbyes. Far past the light.
So for some reason, it thought there wasn't a lot of sibilants in there. Don't know what that's about, but apparently there was enough here in the first section. So let's turn this off again and listen to the first one.
Far past the light, far past the light.
And here's what Smart deess did.
Far past the light, far past the light.
And off again.
Far past the light.
So in past, there's a lot of energy, and also the plosive there is a lot of energy, which it shaves off very nicely, very effortlessly, sounds very, very natural to me. So, but let's tweak this a bit. Again, I'm going to go into soft. I'm going to pull down shaping for Sibilants, and let's go full on the suppression to see what it, or hear what it does.
Far past the.
And again, you probably should turn on the plugin.
Far past the light, far past the.
So here you can see it clamps down pretty hard, but it stays very, very natural the way it does it. Let's do balanced, so you hear the difference.
Far past the light.
And sharp.
Far past the light.
Soft.
Far past the light.
And balanced once again.
Far past the light.
So here I would either go with sharp or soft.
Far past the.
Because for that phrase, that sibilant, the fast works really nicely.
Far past the light.
But this stays sort of the soft for my voice here stays probably the most musical. So let's go from 0 to 100 again, or go through the spectrum.
Far past the. 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 Far past the light.
So here would go higher, probably around that 70% mark, just because I'd want there to be that softness in that phrase. Could be that I need to adjust it differently for different sections.
Every a lifelong dream.
Because we don't have sibilances there very much. What about this earlier?
Go on and on and.
So no. But yeah, I would go for this. Creates a beautiful softness in that. It's almost like I could actually sing my sibilants is a lot better. Very natural softness and control on that sibilance. And I hear no artifacts and nothing disturbing any of the other components of the vocal, which is fantastic and often the issue with de-essers so often.
Far past the.
So it sounds like I'm softly touching the S. Going a bit lower.
Far past the.
Even that is, to my taste, too loud, so I would go around that 70 mark. Let's try the shaping control.
Far past the. Far past the. Far past the.
So it definitely bites harder on the top end, which I find to be a good thing. So let's see how far we can push that.
Far past the. 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 the, far past the light, far past the.
It's probably somewhere there, again, around that 70% mark. That's something you're going to realize across the mix. You might realize, okay, there's too much shaving happening there. But this would be a good starting point. Then if you find they're not quite cutting through in the mix, once you do referencing on other systems, etc., you can hear, okay, maybe bring a bit more of that. I really like this shaping control because it gives an added dimension to this tool. So the suppression you use to get your overall control, and then the shaping gives you again that spectral control, what spectral shaping they call it. But you can target certain frequencies more, and indeed, there in certain areas there is going to be more energy in that top end, especially in my S's. So this is really good because it kind of, the first control gets you 80% there, and then the shaping gives you that last squeeze. So absolutely fantastic. We also have plosives here, so let's turn off plosives.
Far past the, far past the.
And this would be plosive control on.
Far past the.
Effortlessly takes the excessive energy out of there. You still get a perfect sense of what I'm saying, that there's a P, but there's no explosive energy that will unnecessarily take up a lot of space in your mixes.
Far past the, far past the.
Again, this is off.
Far past the, far past the.
And this is on.
Far past the.
That's so nice. It's so effortless. And those kind of, it can be hard for that to be super apparent if your ear isn't trained for that, but that's going to free up so much space in your mixing process, and also simplify a lot of your mixing process, because oftentimes you might do certain cuts to get rid of that low end energy that happens in plosives. This does it like that, and it just sounds so effortless and nice. So fantastic. Let's move on to the falsetto part. And yes, indeed, this is still the same singer as in yours truly. I know it's hard to believe. Let's turn this off, and let's try and remember that it's off. So vocal without smart deess.
Far past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream without goodbye.
Yes, I did remove my testicles to achieve that. Cool, nice part. So let's now put this on, remember, and click analyze, and then let's play these parts again.
Far past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream.
So this is definitely a tough source for this to chew on, because the voice is so airy, so bright, and I do relatively well control the S's and well, especially the S's here. But yeah, a lot of high frequency content, so you definitely hear that it needs to work super hard to make sense of this performance. But yeah, let's see what it did. So this again is off.
Far past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream.
And let's put it on and see what it did.
Far past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream.
So we can focus on that first section. It definitely struggles there with that. There's a lot of energy in this. Let's check it out.
Far past the light, far past the.
There, it gets very dense because it's just too much to handle. So Again, let's do soft, suppression at full, and shaping turned off, just as a reference of what it's doing. You hear there on the S, it really like is struggling to separate the S from all the other air. The vocal gets very dense in the way I do that falsetto there. So let's pull this back so that we begin to control some of that choking. So there you definitely need to control that S because there's so much excessive energy there. Actually, I'm gonna loop this section and let it learn this and focus on that. Okay, we gave it another chance, so this is what it sounds like. That's actually better. Yeah, that's far better. So, yeah, if you have difficult spots like that, best to teach it, let it learn it individually there, and then automate, like, for example, through these different states to change per part. Because this is a lot better this way. I suppose it was adjusting itself accordingly to also the following parts, which, you know, gave this result. So I'm going to change to soft and increase suppression. That's where you get the choking, but the way it clamps down is definitely far smoother here, which is a nicer starting point. So as we pull back, we're going to get a bit better result. So about 50 is what you can get away with there. So the difference is this is off. That's a lot of energy there, and this is on. Controls it very nicely. We could even pull it back just a bit more. Yeah, that's probably even better. Let's put it at 45. Let's see if the speed here changes anything. So this is fast. This is mid. This is slow. Fast. Slow. Fast. I'd probably go with slow. Gives a bit of rounded musicality to that. Let's adjust shaping here. So again, this is really good. This is brilliant the way they've done this, because you get like most of the results with suppression, and shaping gets you to gets you the rest of the way. Just shaves off, focuses on the spectral part of it, the frequency domain part of it. And yeah, 100 is pretty much spot on what I would do there. So again, without. And this is with. Still on that S, it's so dense frequency-wise. And again, this is completely untouched. Otherwise, there are still things we can do, like OEK, soothe, to control some of the stronger resonances, so the de-esser doesn't have to chew on so much. That's what I would actually do, and that would lead us to a perfect end result. Because if there's a lot of build-up that is super excessive compared to the other baseline frequency level, then any kind of processor is there are limits to how drastic the differences can be. But OAK sound Soothe 2, Soothe 2, it's been a long day with a lot of talking. First, control that build up in that frequency area, and then this would easily chew on the rest of it. But again, on.
For past the light.
Off.
For past the light.
So yeah, big difference. Let's turn off the Plosive Control here.
For past the.
And on.
For past.
Again, it's very subtle there, but it does that amounts to such a big difference in the context of a full mix. Let's do this other section with a bigger plosive.
A break of night.
Without.
A break of night.
And there, break of night, there's like energy at the latter part, and also a break, there's like a puffiness that comes out without the de-essing.
A break.
That kind of energy, and with.
A break.
Just nicely evens that out. We're not going to dig deeper into that control, but again, basic suppression control, shaping, same thing. It's a brilliant system they've done here, and it really does work so brilliantly. And in fact, you know, I haven't been a huge spectral fan, especially on the compressor. I don't use that a lot because it just, in many cases, and I must say that I'm not terribly educated on that side of things. I haven't delved deeper into that as a thing to use, but in many cases I'm not feeling it. But here it makes complete sense, and this is like a fantastic solution. So it makes me want to check out the compressor spectral part as well. But again, remember, I'm not educated on that to the level where I'd feel comfortable making absolute statements about that. But here the point is, it just works so well for this de-esser concept. Okay, we have a mid vocal as well, so let's turn this off, and let's remember that it's off, and let's listen to the part.
For past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream without goodbyes.
All right, so that's what it sounds like. I did boost that a couple of dBs to match the other ones. Let's put this on, and now let's teach deess what it's doing.
For past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream.
Seems like it learned what it wanted pretty fast. I want to do that again just to make sure.
For past the light, a break of night, a lifelong dream without goodbye. For past the.
Cool. So yeah, it said, you know, didn't find too many sibilants. I think I heard enough myself, but cool. So again, this is off. Let's focus on the first part.
For past the light.
It's a good mix of sibilant and plosive. Let's put this on.
For past the light. For past the light.
I wonder why it doesn't grab to that P there. Maybe it's not aggressive enough.
For past the.
Let's actually start with that. I'm gonna put the suppression to max.
For past the.
There it is. Now I see it. Again, this interface is super brilliant. You actually see what you're doing. And again, like, I love visual analyzers, granted that they're well done and, you know, well put together, and they're accurate, because this does help a lot. It really links what you're hearing with the technical understanding of what you're doing. And especially, these are also great learning tools. Yes, it would be great if all of us were one day, you know, Zen masters in this, and we can just eyes closed and twiddle knobs, and it'll be amazing just based on ears. But especially in the beginning, that's probably not the case, and that's where when great analyzers, you know, Sonible does this really well, FabFilter does this really well. They can really help you learn, because there are very few people who can purely in a sonic abstract way think about audio. So it helps to see what you're doing, and then one day you don't need to look at the scopes anymore if you don't want to. But these are fantastic learning tools, and also really good at telling you what's happening. So again, let's adjust the plosive control.
For past the.
Okay, so this sometimes happens when I turn it off and I press play. I don't hear audio. I don't know what's happening, but I think it's the smart deess that's doing it here.
For past the.
And on.
For past the. For past the. For past the. For past the.
So I don't seem to get like a super consistent performance there. The last one was perfect, but
for past the.
Sometimes it digs a bit deeper in there. Let's change the speed to fast.
For past the.
Yeah, there it grabbed it really well. Mid speed.
For past the.
Same there.
For past the. For past the. For past the.
Yeah, it doesn't always grab onto it. That's really interesting. That's definitely worth looking at from Sonible's part. Also, you could tell me I'm an idiot and missing something, but I'm not changing anything here as far as I can tell. So let's keep it at slow. Let's, again, sometimes it grabs it perfectly, but sometimes not.
For past the.
Cool, and then let's max out the shaping to hear what it does.
For past the.
That's a lot better, actually. Shaping off.
For past.
Yeah, I don't like that high-end information there, so.
For past the.
And this would be off.
For past the.
Cool, and then on.
For past the.
It just tames that very nicely. These are maxed out, so maybe would I want more scope there? I'd probably on the edit table that P is somewhat controlled, but yeah, I don't know. I need to look at the raw audio to figure that one out. But they are maxed out. Sounds really good to me. I don't need more scope, but if I did, would be nice to have. But yeah, I don't know why it doesn't always catch that. That's definitely worth figuring out. Unless it's yours truly ballsing something up. Let's turn the suppression to the max in the Sibilants and turn down the shaping.
For past the.
That's a really good way of hearing how it catches to the S.
For past the.
That was the soft and this is the sharp.
For past the.
Balanced.
For past the.
And soft again.
For past the.
Maybe here the balance is a bit better, but let's go with soft here. Let's then tweak the suppression.
For past the.
And I keep the soft because it seems to work best for my voice across the whole thing. Yes, I would automate that individually for that part, but again, let's find a decent place for that.
For past the. 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 For past.
So yeah, around 60 here. At 70 you begin to hear it kind of unnaturally clamp it down too much. And then let's go into shaping to finish that off.
For past the. For past the. far past the, far past the, far past the, far past the, far past the.
So I would put it around there. This is a fantastic control because you get the level correction with the suppression, and then you get the frequency evening out with the shaping. It's just a fantastic design, and fantastic the way they've done this. Yeah, to me, you get the level correction. You already think you're in a good place, and you are, but then you control the frequency domain aspect of it, and then you're like, ooh, that's like spot on. It takes out the thing I didn't even realize was annoying, which is the kind of the top end frequency content of the Sibilants. Cool. So that's it. That's we went through all the examples: low, mid, falsetto vocal, and then the podcast voice. So that's Smart deess in short, in a package. Yeah, I mean, again, hands down, this is the best de-esser I've found. So the way it controls the level individually is already brilliant and fantastic, but then you have the spectral control there, which really rounds it off really brilliantly. I don't need to do all kinds of mixing tricks to get the vocal first in a place where I can de-ess, and then I need to EQ or control those resonances or frequencies otherwise. So this is just fantastic, and it does so super easy, super effortlessly. I can see clearly what's happening. It's super clear, clean, concise. Visually, controls are super simple, easy to follow, easy to use, easy to hear the difference, again, which is often the case with de-essers, that it kind of becomes obscure, or all the options you do are kind of crappy. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's one of the most important things about it is that it sounds so effortless and natural. You don't even realize it's doing anything if you don't want to. I mean, you can obviously go overboard if you want to, but it's really incredible. And this is actually everything I was hoping it was going to be. I didn't want to get my hopes up because that's a way to get disappointed. So I thought, okay, it's Sonible. It's going to be, probably pretty good. I'm probably going to replace my FabFilter de-esser with that. But yeah, this just destroyed competition as far as anything that I've laid my hands on. And the fact that you have the separate plosive control here, and that it works so well, because it doesn't sound like, okay, now the plosive control is digging into my S's and the Sibilants. It's actually doing it separately, and it's really incredible how it's picking those out and processing it so naturally and effortlessly. So nothing but strong recommendations for this from my part. If you use de-essing at all, if you do voice recording or vocals or anything voice related, I think this is a no-brainer and probably is a must-have. I would say it is. Again, I'm not being paid to asked to say any of these things. As grateful as I am that they did send me this copy, my words and statements are my own. So yeah, verdict, best de-esser I ever used, and it does actually for once a de-esser that does what I envision that I want to be after, which is natural, effortless control of sibilants and plosives. I mean, this would be fantastic even if it was only sibilant control, but the fact that the plosives are there, that's pretty bonkers, because that's a whole problem of its own, and this just takes care of it like that. So nothing but positive things to say. The only thing was the fact that it didn't consistently grab all the plosives in that one section we had a look at. So don't know what that's about, but that needs fixing for sure. But yeah, fantastic stuff. So thank you to Sonible for sending this over. If you have this back at home or at your studio, let me know what you think. Or if not, let me know what you think about this video. That's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Finished.